The next morning, Kevin jolted awake, heart pounding. Flashes of the previous day's events replayed in his mind. The unsettling glimpse of his double in the storefront window, the disturbing sighting across the cafeteria, and the doppelganger's ghostly presence trailing behind him and Maria. He had hoped it had all been a bizarre dream, but the lingering unease confirmed the harsh reality. Swinging his legs over the side of the bed, Kevin rested his head in his hands, desperately trying to make sense of what was happening. After his conversation with Maria the night before, he knew he couldn't ignore this any longer. The very fact that someone who looked exactly like him had materialized out of thin air, yet gone unnoticed by everyone else, was utterly bewildering. And the way the doppelganger had seemed to vanish into the ether, it defied all logic and reason. Pushing himself up, Kevin moved to the bathroom, splashing cold water on his face. As he looked up at the mirror, he half expected to see the pale, hollow-eyed reflection of his double staring back at him. But it was only his own haggard visage, eyes sunken with exhaustion and brow creased with worry. "Get it together, Kevin," he muttered under his breath, forcing himself to take a few deep breaths. He needed to maintain his composure, to approach this rationally. There had to be an explanation, however implausible it might seem. Grabbing his phone, he scrolled through his contacts until he found Maria's number. After a few rings, her voice answered, laced with concern. "Kevin? Are you okay?" I don't know," he admitted, sinking down onto the edge of the bathtub. "I didn't sleep well at all. I can't stop thinking about what happened yesterday." "I was hoping you'd call," she said. "I've been doing some research and I think we need to talk more about this. Can you meet me for coffee before work?" Kevin glanced at the clock. He still had some time before he needed to be at the office. Yeah, of course. Where do you want to meet?" "There's a cafe near campus, The Grind. Does 7:30 work for you?" "I'll be there," Kevin replied, already feeling a small sense of relief at the prospect of having someone to confide in. As he ended the call and began to get ready, a nagging thought persisted in the back of his mind. What if the doppelganger is there waiting for me? The idea sent a shiver down his spine, and he paused, staring at his reflection once more. It was his own face, undoubtedly, but the uncertainty of it all left him feeling increasingly unsettled. Pushing the thought aside, Kevin quickly dressed and headed out the door, determined to confront this mystery head-on. As he walked the familiar city streets, he couldn't help but scan the faces of the other pedestrians, half expecting to catch a glimpse of his double lurking among them. When he arrived at the cafe, Maria was already seated at a small table near the back, nursing a steaming mug of coffee. She offered him a sympathetic smile as he approached, and he felt a sense of relief at her calm, reassuring presence. "Thanks for meeting me," he said, sliding into the chair across from her. I haven't been able to stop thinking about what happened." "I can only imagine how unsettling this must be for you," Maria replied, her brow furrowed with concern. "But I'm glad you reached out. I've been doing some research, and I think there might be more to this than we initially thought." Kevin leaned forward, his gaze intent. "What have you found?" "Well, the phenomenon of doppelgangers, seeing one's own double, has been documented for centuries, though the explanations vary widely," Maria began, her tone measured and thoughtful. "Some believe it's a supernatural occurrence, a harbinger of bad luck, or even a harbinger of death. Others think it might be a psychological phenomenon, a projection of the subconscious, or even a sign of mental illness." Kevin felt his stomach twist at the implications. "So you're saying I might be losing my mind?" Maria quickly shook her head. "Not necessarily. The research I've done suggests that doppelganger sightings can also be tied to quantum physics, the idea of parallel universes, where versions of ourselves exist in different realities." Kevin blinked, processing this information. Parallel universes? "You really think that could be the explanation for what I'm seeing?" It's a possibility worth exploring, Maria said. The more I dig into the history and theories behind doppelgangers, the more I'm convinced there's something deeper going on here. And I want to help you get to the bottom of it. Kevin felt a surge of relief and gratitude. I'm really glad you're willing to help me with this. I was starting to feel like I was going crazy, seeing things that no one else could. Maria reached across the table, giving his hand a reassuring squeeze. You're not alone in this, Kevin. We're going to figure it out, I promise. Kevin nodded, some of the tension easing from his shoulders. As they continued their discussion, he couldn't help but feel a glimmer of hope. Perhaps there was a rational explanation for the doppelganger, and he wasn't truly losing his grip on reality. Still, as he made his way to the office a short time later, he couldn't shake the unsettling sensation of being watched. Glancing over his shoulder, he scanned the crowd, half expecting to catch a glimpse of his double once more. But the streets were crowded with the usual morning commuters, and Kevin saw no sign of the doppelganger. With a heavy sigh, he turned his attention forward, steeling himself for the day ahead. Little did he know the doppelganger was already there, waiting, watching silently from the shadows, its presence a whisper on the wind, a silent promise of the horrors yet to come. If you enjoyed this story, make sure to subscribe and leave a comment about any scary stories you know.